Welcome to Recently Logged, where this week on Halloween, we're talking about the least scary Scream movie. Happy Halloween, everyone.
Happy Halloween. Here we are. I honestly, when we started planning out doing the Scream series, I didn't realize that the last one was going to be on Halloween, but it worked out quite nicely.
Isn't the last one.
Well, I like the last one we were doing in the series.
The trilogy.
The trilogy, yes.
But, I mean, that's literally what we said when we planned it, Ravi.
I know. I just forgot.
Wow. But yeah, hi everyone.
Hello.
We're talking about Scream 3.
We're talking about Scream 3. We've talked about Scream, and we've talked about Scream 2.
This is going to be a very interesting
so
one.
Naturally, Scream 3 is next.
Because me and Ravi drastically disagree on this movie.
I think this might be the most our ratings have differed on a movie, like, this entire time we've covered movies on the podcast.
Ravi, I don't think I've ever seen a single person give this movie what you have given it.
No, I haven't seen anyone I follow give this movie a 5. So it'll be interesting for sure. But yeah, we're going to go over the basic facts of Scream 3, so you guys know what's up.
Yeah. Alright, so again, we're talking about Scream 3, which came out in the year 2000. It is rated R. It's an hour and 56 minutes. Its little IMDb description is: while Sidney and her friends visit the Hollywood set of Stab 3, the third film based on the Woodsboro murders, another ghost-faced killer rises to terrorize them.
There you go.
It's
true.
Its cast features the likes of David Arquette, Neve Campbell, Courteney Cox, Liev Schreiber, I think is how you say his last name.
I believe so.
Beth Toussaint.
I don't know.
Is it French, Remy?
I'm guessing with the spelling.
Roger Jackson, Kelly Rutherford, and many more.
Many more.
Many more. It is still directed by Wes Craven. And this one was written by Ehren Kruger.
Very nice. Gone is Kevin Williamson. Is kind of telling of how this movie is, but you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Not in a bad way.
In a bad way.
But yes, that is the basic facts of Scream 3.
That is all you need to know.
You now know everything.
You don't even have to watch the movie. You just listen to that.
You can tell your friends that you now know everything there is to know about Scream 3.
Exactly.
But anyway, let's get into what we thought of the movie.
So, Ravi, what did you think of Scream 3?
What did I think of Scream 3? It's honestly one of the, it might be the most fun I've had watching a slasher, like, in recent memory. It's just like an absolute blast. I liked a lot of the character stuff in this one. I liked a lot of the story beats of this one. I like the mystery. I like the way it plays out. I really loved Wes Craven's direction in this. He kind of feels like even more powerful than previous installments in the Scream franchise. I don't know. It's just like a really, really fun ride. I don't know. I love the setting too. It's great. I gave it a 5 out of 5.
Okay, so I like this movie. I do. I gave it a 3.5. I was feeling positive towards it, but it almost makes me want to hate it the way he's talking about this movie, because he's just wrong.
I'm wrong.
It is probably it is definitely the weakest of the Scream trilogy. Most of its elements are completely paper thin compared to the first one, and even to a lesser extent the second one. It feels like it has nothing to say for the franchise. It feels pretty unnecessary. It feels like it has nothing to do with any of these characters. It's just kind of stuff happening, and probably the least interesting, least impactful kills of any of the series, with a twist that doesn't really work for me. But it's still fun. Like, it's still a fun, fine-paced movie. It looks fine. The direction is fine.
Oh man, I love how it looks, dude.
Revy, it looks so boring. I don't understand.
I just love the way it's shot, man.
What do you mean? It's shot like probably the most boring of the three movies.
The way it uses space is like so much better than even something like Scream 2.
I am baffled by this, but I give it a 3.5. I like this movie. I want to say that,
which is still kind of a rare take, like for Scream 3. I find a lot of people actively like dislike this.
Yeah, I mean, there's good reason, Revy. There's good reason. A lot of this just doesn't work well.
I mean, it worked well for me.
But anyway, I'm going to be very negative this episode just to try and counteract some of Robbie's positivity to this, because this is insane to me.
Just to tell them your opinion. You don't have to be negative.
Well, no, I'm saying my opinion is going to be very negative in comparison.
I see, okay.
Because I think you're wrong.
I see.
But again, I liked the movie. It's a fine movie. As horror movies go, it's pretty A-okay. It doesn't, like I said in my review, it's not even anywhere near as good for like the Kevin Williamson thing. It's not even anywhere near as good as I Know What You Did Last Summer. So like
that makes me sad.
Revy, it's literally not. It's not as compelling characters, not as compelling mystery.
It's a completely different animal.
The kills are so much less interesting. I think I Know What You Did Last Summer is funnier.
What? No. Okay, I wanted to kick us off with a low stakes question. What do you think of the cold open of this one? With the Scream franchise, we've gotten cold opens with
least
every
interesting
entry.
Cold open.
You think it's the
least interesting cold open?
I think it's a really, really fun way to like pick up where 2 leaves off, honestly. Like starting out with Cotton and everything.
I was sad that Cotton died, but outside of that, least interesting. Like, it's not... That's what I'm saying. This entire film is the least, in my opinion, filmmaking interesting to have a slasher movie. I find the kills in this exceptionally boring.
That's so strange, because it introduces the like voice changer at the start of this, and it I don't know, since from the first kill, from the word go, I was very interested in where they were taking it.
I find the voice changer so stupid.
What?
It doesn't make any sense.
I think it's such a fun
and
element.
They don't even use it to that like good of anything in the movie. But I'm saying like the kill itself is really boring to me. Like, it's not that interesting. I don't think they use the filmmaking, the camera, to convey any weight to anything.
It is one of the weaker ones, I will say, but still the way they use space and like I don't know, the way the atmosphere is in the opening kill is really nice to me.
But see, like, dude, I feel like there's like no atmosphere compared to the first movie and the second movie's
I don't know,
opening.
there was a real sense of unease watching it.
How?
For me, I don't know.
I don't understand. Like the second movie, I agree with what you have said. Like that the kills in the second movie, we talked about this on the last episode on Scream 2. The kills in Scream 2 are also significantly less impactful than Scream. Scream is the only one of this series so far that I think the kills are actually like scary. And
I scrunched my face up a little bit.
That's true. It's the truth. Like, there's nothing scary about the other two, but this movie, Scream 3, feels like it cares so much less about trying to get interesting kills in terms of like filmmaking wise. Like, everything feels so flat and so like, oh, they're dead. Moving on.
That's interesting, because I really like the way... Because, yes, like, the kills themselves aren't very spectacular like they would be in Scream, like the original. But the settings themselves, like the settings that all of the, like,
what do you
kills
mean
happen
settings? It's his apartment.
Well, yeah, you get Cotton's apartment, you get the office,
dude,
you get the film set.
In Scream 2, you get the cool movie theater set piece.
That's true. Well, the cold open for Scream 2 is like one of the best of like the entire trilogy. I think it might be the best.
The cold open for Scream 2 is like the best part of Scream 2.
Yeah,
That's what
like the best part
That's what I was gonna say. The cold opening is the best kill in Scream 2. But this cold opening does not compare in any way.
Well, that's the thing. I argue that this entry, Scream 3, is a completely different kind of slasher than the first two. And that's part of the reason it's more entertaining for me.
Maybe that's part of the reason I
was
did not
about to say,
it as much.
it kind of drops the meta elements that have really defined the
and instead
first
has
two.
Nothing to say about anything or its character.
It's kind of becoming the very thing like Scream was criticizing in the first movie, like, or at least commenting on, not necessarily criticizing. It's become like sort of a generic slasher film. And I think with Wes Craven's like direction and how great the cast is and how fun the script is, I think it's a masterpiece.
I don't think the script is
being
fun.
a fun slasher.
I don't think it's that fun of a slasher because the kills are so boring, and I don't like any of the characters. They have nothing. They have literally feels like they have nothing to do with Dewey, Gale, or Sidney, and then all the other characters are extremely paper thin.
You didn't like any of the actors for Stab?
No, I mean, why would I? They're in like 2 scenes.
They're fun. I loved the actress for Gale. Like
she was kind of funny sometimes, but like
so
her
funny.
character seemed super cliche to me.
I don't know. Maybe I'm watching too many bad horror movies this month. I watched like a crap ton of horror movies this month.
Yeah, all like indie, low budget horror movies. You need to get some.
But this rocks, dude. I don't know.
Does not rock.
The
It's
Carrie
pretty
Fisher
good.
cameo.
The Carrie Fisher cameo was fun, but like this movie it doesn't carry any thematic energy. It carries no thematic weight. It carries no, like, I came out of this movie thinking, wow, that was completely pointless.
That's so crazy to me. I don't know. I saw a lot of people when I was reading through reviews of this saying that they couldn't recall the plot like 10 minutes after.
I mean, I couldn't I could barely recall the plot.
I don't know, man. Like
nothingness happens for most of this movie. Kills that mean nothing with characters that we have zero connection to over and over, leading to a mystery that does not have any good setup.
And that's the thing. The plot itself isn't very good, but the scenes. Like, I don't know. What am I trying to say here? That it's like an experimental slasher masterpiece?
I don't understand, Ravi.
I don't know what I'm trying to say here. I'm saying, yes, it's not as thematically, like, punchy as the first two, but I don't think it has to be to work.
To work at what?
To work at being, like, a fun, good movie. Do you have another question?
Sure.
Guide us back, Mike.
Since I know I know what you think of this already,
Okay.
but what do you think of the setting?
It's like a sip of my tea.
AKA the most boring setting of the trilogy.
I love the setting of this movie. I think it's so much fun. I think it has way more personality than the setting of 2. Not necessarily than 1, because 1 is really fun. And like the town and everything and all the different houses are a lot of fun in the first one. But I love like the Hollywood set especially is a lot of fun. Like that's one of my favorite set pieces in this whole thing. I like the way the mystery plays out, like when it's set on the studio lot and everything. I like the like celebrity houses in LA. I think the architecture and everything is really fun to shoot in. Like one of my favorite sequences is the one where Patrick Warburton's character dies. Like that whole entire sequence is so much fun. Like with the fax machine and everything. It's so good. But yeah, they're with the change of location to like Hollywood, LA and everything, you get a lot more like I guess sprawling locations. And I think it lends to I don't know, the kind of bigger, more fun feel that I like about this movie, you know? Does that make any sense?
I mean, I guess.
What do you think of the location, Mike, of the setting for Scream 3? I think it rocks.
I think it is fine. I think it does lend to some of the better elements of the movie.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't even mention the mansion at the end.
But it's also probably, in my opinion, the least what is the word that I'm looking for? like personal location.
Interesting.
Like I really feel like even in 2, which again, 2 and 3 are much closer in quality than 2 and 3 to 1, in my opinion. 2 and 3 are like fine movies. 2 is pretty good.
Yeah.
And 1 is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
But like, you know, in 2, I feel like the college is a very, like, it's got a lot of personality, the location. Whereas this, I feel like this is just very bland for, like, it's just, wow, yeah, a Hollywood set. Like, I feel like it does not lend itself to understanding the geography of the movie, knowing where you are, and having stakes in the location. I feel like 2 still brings in, because in the first one, the stakes of the location were that they didn't know who the killer is, and that it could be anyone in this very small town.
Yeah.
And, you know, the friends, blah, 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 lots of mystery.
Yeah, it's a much smaller scale movie than
It's a very personal, small scale
exactly.
movie. 2, you still have a lot of mystery in the fact that we don't know who it is. There are college students all around. It's very close and personal to the characters still.
Yeah.
And we know the location. We know some of the geography. It's very, again, tight but bigger.
Yeah.
And then in this one, like you mentioned, it takes place over big Hollywood houses.
Compared to the first.
It takes place over a Hollywood set. It takes place just tons of different places. And in my opinion, that's just not that interesting for this kind of a slasher. I think that's part of the reason, because like I said, well, I think the setting, in terms of setting it in Hollywood and around a movie set, brings the fact, like, some of the more interesting things, like the mystery is more interesting when they're on the set.
Yeah.
But I think it plays to the fact that I find the horror elements and even the thrilling elements of the movie so much less engaging, because this location is just a location. There's nothing that feels personal about this in any way, even though, like, yeah, it's like the movie set is like Woodsboro, but like that feels stupid to me. That doesn't give me any tension for any of the characters or any, like, mystery around, oh, is it this person? Is it this person? It could be any of these people walking around, because you know it's probably not going to be. And it lends itself to being more boring location to location, in my opinion. I'm not like, ooh, I can't wait to see what happens with all of these people in this house. I'm just like, something's probably gonna happen. One of these actors I care nothing about is probably gonna die. Boo-hoo.
I could see that as a complaint for some of, like, the houses and stuff, but I love, like, any of the stuff on the lot, because anytime they can incorporate, like, the stab stuff, it's just, like, so much fun to me, because especially, like, the one killing in the offices is one of my favorites in this movie. Just because of the way they use, like, the costuming and everything, and the layout of it, and the lighting. It just, I don't know. It's a lot of fun.
I don't understand. Usually we agree on when something uses physical space well.
I love the way this movie
uses space. And I just don't feel like this uses physical space in any way interesting. like describing that office kill. I remember the office kill very well. I cannot think of a single thing that was like, wow, they sure used that space well, filmmaking wise.
I don't know.
Like, it's just like, oh, he's waiting. Then he pushes her on a cart. Oh, he stabs her through a window. Nice.
Is that all you got out of it, Mike?
That's all I got out of it.
That's a shame. I love the way it's shot. I just don't
understand
it.
That.
It feels very claustrophobic.
I thought this was the most... No,
and
it doesn't. You want to talk
that kill specifically.
You want to talk claustrophobic? Watch the first movie.
No, the first one does it.
The cinematography is outstanding.
The first one movie feels, like you said, a lot more personal. Oh, well, I'm splashing tea everywhere. First one feels a lot more personal. But I like the way this one's shot too. Like I said,
the first one feels a lot more personal, and then in its shooting, it feels a lot more manic and scary and claustrophobic.
Like I said, this one feels a bit more elegant in this one. Like
elegant,
a bit bigger, a bit more flowy.
It just feels more plain. It does not feel more elegant. Flowy. There's nothing flowing in this movie.
I don't know, man. There's like, especially near the end with the mansion and everything. Like, I believe there's some uses of like Dutch angles and stuff that was really good. There's like, I don't know, the pans and the pushes and
dude, I was struggling to not stay on my phone during this movie. That's how unengaged I was by this. I thought the ending set piece was a joke. What? I really hated the whole, oh, it's a big mansion but it's got these secret passages. I hate that.
What? I think it's so much fun that it takes place in like this labyrinthian mansion with like the secret screening room and everything.
But Okay. I think I'll say that. I think just the biggest disconnect of this movie, all around throughout the entire thing, that I just cannot get past, and it's part of what makes all of these elements so uninteresting to me, is I care nothing about Ghostface in this one.
Really?
I do not care who he is. His mystery is not interesting.
Dang.
The reveal is so uninteresting to me. I hate how unset up it is in the series with something like that.
You know, it is. I see a lot of complaints. Like, that was the most common complaint actually for this movie.
He feels cheap.
Was the reveal for this?
His motivations feel stupid. Why is he killing random people on the cast? Like, he doesn't even go after. He doesn't really go after Gale, Dewey, or Sidney much. He's just mostly killing random people on his own movie set. Why? It doesn't make sense. It literally doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, he is the weakest element of this movie because, like you said, he's just kind of poorly set up. But I do like the idea of, like, his character as, like, a character for this. I think it's a great way to tie it back to the rest of the trilogy.
I disagree. Like, and like, that's one of the reasons I find, like, even the mansion scene so uninteresting, because just this ghost face is completely uninteresting to me. There's nothing I enjoy watching about this specific ghost face. This is the equivalent of, like, somebody recording some random guy in a Halloween costume killing people.
Dang.
Like I just feel, as ghost faces go, even the second one, which is significantly less than the first one, the second one still had me interested in Ghostface as a character.
It's interesting.
This one I am completely uninterested in.
I don't know. I found, like, that part, like the guessing game, which has been a big part of, like, the first two Scream movies, like guessing who Ghostface is going to be. I thought that was really fun this time around because you had so many new players in the movie. But
new players with nothing... like nothing behind them. The only one they even give any weight to the mystery would be the one detective guy, and being that he's the only guy they give weight to the mystery in, you know it's probably not going to be him. Like it's not going to be Dewey, Gale, or Sidney, who are, like, the only characters that come over from this. And, like, all of these actors and all of these people are just so paper thin. That's what I'm saying. And they don't even have anything interesting to do with our three carried over from the series. They kill Cotton off in the beginning, which he could have had something interesting to do in this movie. And then, like, we just have all of these people who I care nothing about getting killed by a killer I care nothing about.
Man.
And that's probably because while I may disagree with you on the elegance of the filmmaking of this, I think it is fine. I think the direction is fine. It's not my favorite from Wes Craven by far in terms of direction, but, like, it's a solid made movie in terms of filmmaking stuff.
Yeah.
It's a solid 3.5.
Darn.
But I think the reason I just feel so baffled by your opinions on this is that I have zero.
Just that's, like, your main.
That is the core of why I feel just meh towards this movie, is because I think the core of the movie, the mystery and the kills, are just so uninteresting, so weightless, so nothing for the series. And honestly, I put in my review on Letterboxd, I actively dislike what the mystery does for the overarching series.
Really? Why?
I don't know. It feels very...
like, cheap?
Yeah, it feels cheap. It doesn't feel like it connects to any way to what we have in the first Scream in any meaningful way. I mean, the same way I felt that the second movie was kind of like honestly, I do not like the fact that these sequels are here that much.
I mean, as a sequel, I think from the, like, looking at it from the perspective of a sequel to the Scream franchise, that is, yeah, those are easily its weakest elements, because it doesn't have nearly as much to say as the first two does, or do, rather. But, like, I don't know, it's, like, removed from the context of the Scream franchise. Would you enjoy it more?
No. Like, I genuinely find, again, the killer and the side cast very, very uninteresting. I just had zero connection. Because I wasn't sitting there watching it being like, Yes, here's how this works all as a sequel. Like, I was trying to just, take in the movie.
Yeah.
And, like, save for some funny jokes. I didn't, like, get that much out of it. There was nothing special about this movie.
That's wild.
So, like again, it's a solid 3.5. Not one I would probably go to watch ever again.
Okay, I have a question, Micah.
Go for it.
As the resident Scooby-Doo enthusiast. I saw at least like 4 different people I follow compare this to a Scooby-Doo movie. Do you think this is the most Scooby-Doo Scream has gotten?
I would say it is the most Scooby-Doo Scream has gotten.
I would agree.
I can see that comparison. And I will say this, that shows you how weak the mystery is in this, because honestly, most Scooby-Doo mysteries absolutely suck. and then we have a cast of characters that is not anywhere near as interesting as the Scooby-Doo gang.
I don't know,
Nobody is as interesting as one member of the Scooby-Doo gang in this movie.
I don't know. Just as an ensemble, they were such a joy to watch.
I don't understand that. What do you mean? They're so boring.
Like, I loved the chemistry between all the cast. I loved like a lot of the comedic writing. I don't know.
I don't understand. I don't get it.
I just don't understand why someone wouldn't have a good time with this movie,
Because it's boring. It's unengaging. The characters are paper thin and it says nothing. There's nothing that... Like what are you latching on to? What is the takeaway of this movie? I have zero takeaway.
I don't know, like, just the general energy of this movie, like, entices me so much to it. Like, it just made me... I didn't want to look away. Like, it's amazing. I don't know.
Again, I was struggling to stay off my phone because I needed to pay attention because I was going to review this movie the next day.
I don't know. The tension in this one is the most tangible it's been for me.
What tension? What tension?
It's the most tangible it's been for me.
Where is the tension? Show me the tension. There is no tension.
I don't know. The kills in this were just a lot more, like, gripping to me than in the previous ones.
What?
And I can't...
Scream. Scream is the most gripping I have... It is my favorite horror movie. It is the most gripping I have ever seen a kill be. And it feels the most weighty. It feels the most personal. It feels the most gripping and terrifying that I have ever seen a horror movie do. Ever. And this is like
diet.
This is like PG-13 feeling horror movies.
Dang. I don't know, man. Just I think it also has to do with the setting for this, but like I don't know. I wish I could describe it better.
I don't understand at all that you would find the kills gripping, because like I find the kills so boring in this one, even compared to 2. At least 2 they still had some like take Randy's death in 2. Mm-hmm. It's still like they still try to be visceral with it. They still try and make it have weight when he's getting stabbed. In this, literally almost every kill, except for maybe the last fight against Sidney, which I think is stupid and drags on. Literally every kill is Ghostface comes up, they run for like a little bit, and then he stabs them. Like once. He stabs them once because this killer has zero motivation, zero reason to be killing his own cast members, and nothing to say.
No, it is a valid criticism, though, because I can't really come up with a good reason for him to be killing off the people that he is, honestly.
Yeah, he had a good reason to threaten Dewey.
Yes.
Because he knew where Sidney was, and his whole goal was to get to Sidney. But literally...
I mean, you could argue that he was just trying to escalate things.
I was about to say, honestly, but literally, other than being like, please show up, Sidney, which doesn't make any sense, because you'd think, as a character, she would want to stay far away from another murderer. You know? The whole trauma stuff in her life. And then what I don't understand, too, is, like, she's isolated herself.
Yeah.
She's alone. Technically speaking, this is our main protagonist, even though she's not really the protagonist of this movie. But she's our main serious protagonist. They tried to have something to say about her more so than anyone else in this movie, which is crazy. They tried to have something to say about Sidney's character. And at the beginning of this movie, they're like, oh, she's isolated. This isn't good. she's isolated. She doesn't talk to anyone. She doesn't see anyone. She doesn't even use her real name. And I'm like, that's pretty freaking valid.
You think the movie's criticizing that?
For what she goes through. Yes, because of how it ends, Rebby. Because of how the movie progresses. I think it's criticizing that. I think it thinks that is bad, even though I feel like that is a logical place for her character to go after what she's been through. But then, after these killings, for some reason, she decides to come out to the movie set, and she's like, this is where I needed to be. The other places where it was bad. She pretty much says that. And then she puts herself in danger, doesn't do much to help, more people die, doesn't do much to help, isn't one of the main characters. She vaguely helps solve the mystery, but not really. And then at the end, after going through all of this, and the killer's like, I was actually coming for you, Sidney. I am your brother.
That's what it was like.
Yes, that is exactly what it was like. He's so stupid. And then she's like, oh, wow, that's interesting. Let me shoot you again and again. And then somebody else will shoot you. And then somebody else will shoot you. And then somebody else will shoot you.
He gets shot so many times.
And then somebody else will stab you. And then somebody else will shoot you. And, he does nothing but get shot and stabbed for like 20 minutes straight.
It's glorious, Mike.
And then, like, no, it's not. It's so stupid and boring. And then the very, very end of the movie, we have several people. Now they're living with Sidney. David Arquette and Courteney Cox are now living with Sidney.
Right. I thought that was hilarious. And I was like, what is that? Like they're watching over their child now. What's going on?
And they're all gathering around. Mr. Detective Man is here too. And
I thought that was fun.
And we have the thing. Oh yeah, and we've had these dreams with Sidney, these nightmares, because again, she has been legitimately extremely traumatized. I don't know why she came out to this movie set after the killings. I don't understand that as a character moment. And at the end, she leaves the door open and she stares at it for a couple seconds, and the music builds, telling you that this is like thematic. This is a payoff of our thematic run.
Well, this was intended to be the end of the franchise.
I know, but I'm saying again, this is a payoff of not as a sequel, Rabbi. Looking at Sidney Prescott, the only character they give thematic weight throughout the entire movie. What her story is saying is like, what is this saying? That running to these two friends who are yet again tangled up in another murder series that will get her even more traumatized and become even less of feeling like a human being leads her to what? Being okay with leaving the door open because now she's not paranoid for some reason, even though this time she has even more reason to be paranoid because it turns out her mother isn't anything like what she thought she was, and she had a secret sibling who was trying to kill her.
I don't know, but like now
how does that make her less paranoid?
Now that the secret sibling is gone, I feel like most of her past has been uncovered. Like I don't know,
her past was never an issue per se. Like, it was an issue by the fact that she was like,
I mean, that's what spurs the like conflict of the first two Scream movies and this one.
Yes, but her past spurring the conflict in the first movie makes sense. Mm-hmm. In the second movie, it's kind of shaky. And then in this one, it's absolutely ridiculous. This isn't her past. This is like a fanfic of Sidney. Somebody was like, what if she had a secret sibling and her mom was in the movies?
I don't know.
What are you talking about?
I think like the exploitation stuff hits really well and like hits even harder in like the landscape since this has come out.
No, the exploitation stuff as a message is good.
I think it works really well, like thematically to this movie.
The guy who's big exploitative man is in 2 scenes. Why not make him more prevalent if that's what you want to say? That's not what this movie is saying.
I don't know. He's kind of a looming force.
He's in 2 scenes. Nobody talks about him. Nobody's like, oh, we got to put out this movie for this guy. This guy's going to be upset if we don't put out this movie. Even the actress who slept with him to get the part is never like, oh yeah, this guy. She does not mention him. She's skittish. She's skittish, but she does not mention him at all. He is not a looming threat until the movie is like, oh, yeah, this guy is bad.
I don't know. I think it works really well as like the crux of the movie.
What crux? What is it saying? What is the crux? What is it saying, Ravi? You cannot say the crux of the movie. What is the takeaway of this movie? What is it trying to say?
I mean, I don't know. I took it mostly as a message of how the movie industry like exploits people.
Fine, but what does that have to do with the killer?
With the killer?
Yeah, what does that have to do with what happens in the movie? A killer murdering people on a movie set vaguely related to trying to get Sidney there. Vaguely having to do with her mom. Like, yes, he is there because her mom was exploited on the movie set. Correct. But what is that? So what? Like, so what to the killer? What is he doing? What is he doing to get... He is literally killing people on his own movie set. What is this like? He's not sticking it to the man. He's trying to kill Sidney, who has nothing to do with the movie industry.
I don't know. I wish I had a better like argument for this. I legitimately don't know how.
That's what I'm saying. But
explain it.
Like Scream 2, it feels like there are two elements of this movie, but both, unlike Scream 2, are extremely underdeveloped. There's nothing that any of these makes sense to be combined for the Sidney stuff and the movie industry stuff. I think this movie could be very interesting if it was completely cut Dewey, cut Sidney, cut Gale. I do not care. They had pretty good endings in Scream 2. Cut them from the movie, make this about a Hollywood set doing Stab 3, make it about the exploitation of the film industry, do cool stuff with that.
I think it ties well, like into, I think they mesh well, like the two sides that you're talking about.
But they don't. They make no sense together. They literally make no sense as a story together.
I don't know.
Like even in Scream 2, the elements were pulling against each other, but it still made more sense for them to be together in one story. They tied them together to make sense well. Mm-hmm. This literally does not make sense once you know what the mystery is.
I don't know. I wish I could explain it better. You make me sad, Micah. You're flexing your film analysis and criticism skills on me. I'm like, movie fun and good, and I don't have much to add outside of that.
I'm sorry. I'm not... Listen. Again, the only reason I am being as overtly negative as I am is I just do not understand thinking that this could be the best one of the series.
I don't think it's the best one.
Or like the favorite of the series.
It's my favorite.
Like it just feels aggressively like the weakest of the series to me, even compared to 2, which I think it's pretty close in quality to 2. 2 and 3 are pretty close in quality. I mean, they're fine movies. They're fun.
I mean, I rated 2 higher than you, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly.
I gave 2, I think, a 4, and I think you gave it a 4.5. So yeah, I gave 2 a 4, and this a 3.5. I think they're pretty closely related. I think 3 is a bit more messy and less punchy than 2 even.
I don't know. I want to give this one another rewatch and try and pay closer attention to the theming, because you're right. Like, it doesn't... Like, looking back on it, I can't draw like a straight line between any of the thematic like elements.
Yeah, I thought like
which is a criticism.
I thought the exploitation Hollywood stuff is a fine inclusion.
I think it makes for a great.
I think that's a great
motivation for the killer and everything.
But it just does not make sense.
You don't think
Why
it
is
works?
Why is he killing people on his own movie? Why is he a director if he hates Hollywood so much? Why is any of this happening in the way that it is?
I mean, he doesn't hate Hollywood.
Why doesn't he hate Hollywood? Why does he blame Sidney for some reason for these problems?
Well, because it's like a Lotso situation, Micah. in a very roundabout
Then why is he killing people on his own movie set?
I don't know. I wish I had a better answer to that question, because that's going to bug me.
Most of the kills are just of the cast member of Stab 3. Not only that, but in order of how they're doing it in Stab 3, as if they're trying to do a Scream 2 thing, where the killer in that was following the order of people of the actual killing. random connections and name to the actual that was something, that was something. This, he is literally just like I cannot understand after watching the movie why he was killing the people he was killing.
Yeah, no, the only reason I can think of, like, just after one viewing of the movie is just to lure Sidney out.
But that does not it makes sense killing Cotton to lure Sidney out.
Yeah, I was about to say, Cotton makes a lot of sense.
But none of the rest of the killings do.
Yeah.
Because, like, why does she... I feel like Cotton dying... I feel like, honestly, he could have just killed Cotton and then hoped Sidney would come out for that. like what is he doing? Why is he killing more and more people? Is he just hoping that she will be enticed to the mystery?
I don't know. I mean, it worked, didn't it?
Yeah, but I think Sidney's like I think all of the previous characters act kind of stupid in this one.
Really?
Yeah.
I actually really like the direction they took Dewey and Gale for this one.
I think Gale is much less interesting of a character than the second one.
Because this is my favorite movie for her. Besides maybe the first one.
She has nothing to do. What is she doing in this?
I don't know. I think
she's just she has some jokes with fake Gale.
The fake Gale bit is good, but I really like her stuff with Dewey in this one. Like, their dynamic in this movie.
I just don't get it. I don't get it. Because, like, their dynamic is fine. I don't even think it's as interesting to watch as 2, because 2 had tension with it. This one, they're just like that. They had the weight of the first movie to go off of in 2.
No, that's true.
This one, they have the weight of the second movie, which is extremely more goofy than the first movie, and they have nothing to say.
The romance isn't nearly as, like, compelling as it is in 2, because that's one of the strongest elements of 2 in my eyes. But I don't know. I just really enjoy it. I don't know. I just really enjoy this movie, Micah.
And that's fine, What can I do? I don't want to stop you from enjoying a movie. I just don't understand.
No, I don't know. I wish I could articulate why it brings me so much joy, like all of the different moments in this movie. And that's the thing. Like, in my mind, I'm like, I view this movie as like a string of really fantastically directed scenes. Like, as a cohesive text, especially, which that's one of the strongest elements of the Scream franchise, is Kevin Williamson's screenwriting in the first 2 movies. They're fantastic. They're great. They're layered. They have a lot to say. This one does not lean on those strengths very much at all. It's not as thematically coherent. It's not as smartly written. But I think its energy, its cast, its lighting, its production design, the setting, everything that doesn't work, like the elements that don't work in this movie are the ones that do work in the previous Scream movies, but they ramp up the rest of the stuff enough that I think it's still like an absolute blast. But I
don't think any of the elements, filmmaking wise or setting wise, even compare to the first one.
I mean, it's a completely different thing.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, out of enjoyment or engagement or filmmaking, I don't think they compare.
I don't know, man. Maybe I'm losing my mind. Maybe I need to watch Scream again and be like, oh no, I was completely wrong. This uses like the cinematography and direction a lot better than Scream 3.
I think that's one of the I think that's the strongest I've ever seen Wes Craven is in Scream.
I don't know. He just... It's kind of like... I compared the ending of this to Parasite, actually. Like, in direction, which you like grimaced when I said that. But I don't know. It feels like he's gained a real sense of, like I said, elegance.
Dude, okay. I see, and I'll disagree with this, because I love the elegance of the camera movements in Parasite, and there are several other movies that I've been like, yes, this feels, and you know this about me, that I love the elegance of the camera.
I mean,
in
the
Parasite.
Scream 3 is no Parasite.
That's one of my favorite parts of Parasite, is the elegance of the camera.
Yeah,
and the
it's arguably its best thing, and the best thing about it.
Yeah, like just the camera is brilliant in Parasite. And I never once, while watching this movie, thought anything of, wow, this is elegant, this is flowy, this is tight, this is using its geography in an interesting way in terms of shooting. It's very plain. It's very simple.
I don't know. I love the energy of this. Like, I love the energy of the way everything is shot. I don't know. It's very captivating to me. Like maybe my brain is broken.
I think you watched too many bad indie horror
too many
movies.
bad movies. I don't know. I love the way the camera like flows around. I love the pans and tilts.
The last half good looking movie Robbie watched was Dead Scream, which is like a found footage movie, and he's like, "What? How are movies shot again?
How are movies supposed to look?"
we have some basic cinematography. This is good stuff. Reminds me of Parasite.
No, during the end mansion scene, it did remind me of Parasite, and I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong for this, but
I can't picture it.
But it reminds me of like going from like early Spielberg to later Spielberg, not like recent Spielberg, but like, you know, like when he was at the peak of his power. That's what this feels like for Wes Craven. It feels like he's become a lot more mature as a director in this one. It feels a lot more like controlled, and I don't know, it feels a lot more intentional in its direction than the first one does to me.
What?
I don't know.
Dude, you don't get something as visceral and gripping as Scream in its cinematography and direction without very, very much intentionality.
I mean, like I said, it's a different, like Scream 3 is a different kind of slasher than Scream is.
I understand that, but yeah. I'm saying on a technical filmmaking level, I think you have to have way more skill, talent, and intentionality to pull off something like how Scream is made versus something how Scream 3 is made.
I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily takes like more talent. It's just a different style of like, or no, like a different direction for the movie to go in, because you wouldn't direct something like a script like Scream 3 the way you would Scream.
No, I understand,
and I think Wes Craven's sensibilities as a director fits this a bit better than Scream, like the first one.
I've never seen another movie tackle horror in the way Scream does. It does it in such an effective, cool way.
I mean, yeah, but
that's visually engaging throughout. We literally spent like 30 minutes on our Scream episode talking about how engaging the motion is.
It is amazing. It's great. I love the way that movie is shot. I'm just saying, I think this one is just as good. Like,
but it's so
in the way
boring.
It's direction.
It's so boring. It's so plain.
But I didn't find
this
it
is
boring.
This is
you
just,
think it's plain?
Yes, this is as plain as any old horror movie you'll find.
No,
it is fine cinematography. It looks fine, but it's not bad in any way. But it is not anything special. I thought nothing special about the cinematography.
I love the way they shoot interiors in this.
What do you mean I don't get it. They just shoot them very plainly. It's just normal coverage of an interior. Heck, I thought some of these some of the shots in this looked cheap. Like, I thought they were just like pointing the camera at some points.
Man,
like
I don't know. That's literally half like the reason that I loved this so much while I was watching it. It's just the way it's shot.
I don't
and
get
directed.
it. I don't get it. And that's what I don't understand, you know? But that's fine. We disagree.
Okay. Since we have been kind of going on about this for a while, I wanted to ask another question. What did you think of the Randy cameo? Because I've seen pretty much universal love for the Randy cameo in this.
Really? That's shocking, because I think
most of the people I follow.
I think the Randy cameo is really stupid.
You think it's dumb?
I think it's dumb, and I think kind of similarly to the second one, his rules add nothing to the movie. It has nothing to say, and it literally does not matter for the movie at all. His rules do not apply to the movie. It does not follow. What? It does not follow his rules.
They apply a lot more than 2's rules do.
It does not matter. And it's really weird tonally for Randy. Like not the character, but like for him to be here like this is weird tonally.
You think so?
Yeah, like why he recorded it like that, I don't know. I do not like it.
Huh.
I did not get good vibes from the Randy recording, and I thought it's
like bad vibes.
And I thought it was kind of pointless to be on here because, like you said, this is very different. This is nothing metatextually to say.
I was about to say, I think Scream 3 boils down to just being a fun Hollywood slasher, like with not that much to say.
So I feel like
outside of its like vague criticism of exploitation and sexual harassment in Hollywood, like that's really, I think, the most it really delves much into its meat. Besides, like, obviously, like trauma and everything from Sidney's past and everything like that, like with her mom and everything. I don't know. I liked the mom stuff in this quite a bit. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not like as big of a fan of Sidney's stuff in 2, and maybe I'm just coming off of that, but I actually really liked the way they
I pulled up his rules.
went with Sidney's like plot line.
I pulled up his rules.
The rules of the
One,
trilogy.
You got a killer who's superhuman.
Yeah,
which
you get that.
No. The only reason it is because he mentioned that. The only reason it is because Randy said that in the movie. Because he has no reason to get back up after getting shot and stabbed. That's literally just
they introduced the bulletproof vest and everything in this, which makes him a lot harder to kill.
But Sidney literally also has a bulletproof vest.
Well, yeah,
it literally is nothing, Ravi. That does not work.
Okay, but I'm not counting that as like
2.
That no.
Anyone including the main character can die. This means you, Sid. Outside of Cotton, who is not one of really the main characters. None of the main characters are threatened at all in this.
I think I thought they felt a lot more vulnerable in this one because they kill Cotton like right at the beginning. But maybe, I don't know, maybe, like I said, maybe my brain is broken or something.
Number 3, the past will come back to bite you, which it does.
Yeah.
But the past stuff is so stupid. I think that's the stupidest part of how this is written. Like I think the past stuff is so stupid. Again, like, oh, the mom.
You didn't like the mom
was
stuff?
in movies. And she had a secret child. Stupid. I hate it.
You don't think
it means nothing to the Sidney and her story of the previous 2 movies? It means nothing. There's nothing outside of stab being a thing in the second movie that has anything to do with like movie making in the series. Like, it has, obviously movies have been are like the key element of the Scream series.
Yeah.
Everything about them is about movies. But in the first one, it's about how teenagers specifically use movies and media to connect with their trauma.
Yeah.
Which is a very cool thing to
I was about to say, that's what makes Scream so brilliant. Yeah.
And that has nothing to do with, oh, my mom was secretly a Hollywood extra, essentially.
I don't know. I want to watch it again. This is why I always try and watch movies a second time before we do them on the podcast. Because then I can sort of form a semi-cohesive argument for it.
So yeah, I don't know. I thought Randy's inclusion was kind of gimmicky and stupid.
It is a bit gimmicky, but I do like it. I like it a lot better than, like, I don't know, maybe I just didn't like the Randy stuff from 2 that much, which he is really...
Randy in 2 is like the most interesting thing happening really in fun. 2.
But I felt like he was doing like the sequel stuff, like all of the metatextual sequel stuff out of more obligation to the first movie than...
Well, again, we said that in Scream 2. That's one of the things that doesn't work in Scream 2 is that its metatextual stuff does not work because it's pulling itself in 2 different directions. If Randy was the main character of the second one, it probably would have worked a lot more. But in this one, there is no reason to have any metatextual stuff because there is nothing metatextual about this movie.
I mean, I wouldn't say nothing metatextual. It tries to frame the whole ghost face thing like my life is a movie for real. Like, that's literally his whole thing. It tries to frame a lot of the stuff that he does like as his movie, you know? Does that make sense what I'm saying right now?
It makes quote-unquote sense, but I do not think it's good.
Okay, I thought it worked pretty well.
Because, like, he's like, oh, I want to make my own movie. Mm-hmm. Oh, and we got Detective Man. He's like, my life is a movie. My life is my favorite scary movie. And Sidney's like, me too.
Me too.
But I don't think that holds any weight.
You didn't like that?
I don't think that holds any weight, and I don't understand. I don't understand the killer at all. Like, he wanted to make his own movie. He was actually making a movie, and he's like, "Oh, I finally did it. I made my movie."
Yeah.
And like, what did you do, man? You killed a bunch of random Hollywood actors, and then got killed by Sidney Prescott.
I mean, that he says that like when he's going to kill Sidney, right? Like right before?
No, I was pretty sure he said that right before he like died. Like when he's talking to Sidney.
Well, that does change things.
That's what I could be wrong about this.
I thought he was saying it like right before he was killed, but you know, I could be wrong. Like I said, I wish I would have watched the movie again.
Like I said, and his little popping up again just because of Randy's stupid rules, I thought was so annoying.
I don't know.
Like he's the lamest of any of the ghost faces. So why is he doing this?
I like his ghost face better than 2. It doesn't make as much sense, for sure. Like
the ghost face is just scarier in 2.
I don't know. I will say I think maybe the like voice changer thing gives me a bias to like it more, because I think that's such a fun like element in this movie.
But I think it's used to not much interesting effect.
Really?
The characters never figure anything out with that until it's just revealed. So it's not used to any fun, like, build on the mystery. They don't, like, realize, like, oh, somebody's faking our voices, so then, like, every phone call is, like, this tension.
But see, that's the thing. We know that someone is faking the voices. That's part of what made, like, those scenes, is like, the office killing and everything a lot more interesting to me, because we know that it's not, like, the real person.
Yeah, but I don't care about these people. I just don't.
I thought that was such a fun like way to up the stakes, like even just on the phone calls, like, and everything. I thought it was great.
I didn't think they were used to any interesting effect, especially being that every phone call he used a fake voice almost. He like dropped the voice halfway through.
I mean, yeah, but that was like to ramp up the tension right before the kills usually.
I don't know, man. It just...
I will say, Roger L. Jackson, like the real MVP of the Scream franchise, honestly, he voiced Ghostface in all of the movies.
Got the best voice.
He's got like one of the best voices ever, I think. He's so good.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought they used it in a very gimmicky way for the voice changer. There was nothing.
I think like
They could have tied it into as part to make this Ghostface unique and interesting, but instead it just feels like it was slapped onto him because he's not using it to. These people, he would have killed them just the same. The only time he uses it in some... He
uses it to lure people.
No, the only time he uses it in some
unique,
interesting way is to really get Gale and Dewey there, because I don't care that he lured What's-Her-Face to the office. He could have just asked What's-Her-Face to go to the office. Like it doesn't make sense. Like literally...
Okay,
they use it for nothing but a gimmick, and it does not make any sense even as technology.
I mean, yeah, no, it doesn't make any sense as technology, but it doesn't have to, Micah. It's a movie. But there was one last like topic that I wanted to cover before we moved on. Since Kevin Williamson, we've previously praised his screenwriting and his style a lot. Missed. He like I said, this movie takes a completely different direction with the absence of him as the screenwriter.
He's greatly missed.
You don't like the new direction? Because like his screenplays brought such an interesting voice.
He knows how to write an interesting and engaging slasher mystery.
Yeah. I think he knows how to write young adults really, really well.
And
that's always been like his big strength to me.
Yeah, and I feel like the characters are nothing in this. Like I think this is the least interesting from every single character in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably agree.
So yeah, no, I very much miss him.
I don't know, I like this screenplay, like I said, because it's not as character focused, but it is a lot more... I don't know how to describe it.
It's not as character focused. The mystery works less than any of the rest, and the killer makes no sense. So I don't understand why you like the screenplay.
I love... Maybe I just like the setting too much.
I think you like the setting too much.
I love the setting of this movie. I love the way it's paced. I love the way it's structured. I don't know. I think even though it is not, like, it's decidedly not a Kevin Williamson screenplay, and it's not even trying to be, I think I respect it for that, you know? Like, they didn't have Kevin write this one.
I respect it for being worse than the other movies.
I respect it for going in a new direction.
And failing.
I think it really works. I don't know.
I disagree. I think it works a mediocre amount of level. I think it is fine, pretty fun, funny
so much
sometimes.
fun. It's so funny, Micah.
It's still well paced. It's still like I said,
it's still such an enjoyable movie.
But it's not. It's not.
It is like, if you're viewing it from the same, like, if you're trying to critique it for the same elements that you would praise the first two for, then yes, it seems to fall flat.
But even on its own, Robbie,
but I think I don't know. I think it succeeds enough in other areas that I think it
succeeds enough to be a mediocre horror movie. Pretty good. It is pretty good. I gave it a 3.5. That is. Yeah, it did something.
I don't know. I think it's like a masterwork of like the fun slasher
I don't think
genre.
anything in this could be described as a masterwork. I think this is the sloppiest from all of the filmmaking sides.
You make me sad. I want other people to share my enjoyment of
Robbie,
Scream
I've
3.
never seen somebody give Scream 3 as high as you.
I need someone more articulate than me to describe why Scream 3 is great.
But I've never seen anybody else say Scream 3 is great.
I'm gonna go on YouTube and search every Scream 3 review until I find someone who agrees with me. It'd be like proof. I'm correct.
A lot of people I know of think this or 4 are the worst of the entire series.
I don't know. Like, even yes, there are very much valid criticisms of this movie. Like Micah's talked about like a bunch this episode, which I do agree with. I think they are really valid criticisms of it. I still gave it a perfect score, obviously, so they weren't like that big of a problem for me. They didn't detract that much of the movie for me, you know? But I don't know. I can't see not enjoying this movie on some level. It's just such a fun slasher.
I gave it a 3.5.
No. I'm not saying you.
I think that is a well-deserved rating.
Yeah, I was about to say, just the sheer amount of like joy and like just the sheer amount of cinematic joy I get from watching this movie is enough to constitute a 5 for me. I think it's great.
But I totally understand where most people are coming from when they give this lower.
I don't know. I can't see being bored during this movie. That's what doesn't make sense to me.
I was bored during this movie. and again, like, take something like Taylor Williams, who did not like it. He talks about how everything feels uninventive and surface level with no commentary and dumb horror characters. That's exactly how I feel about it.
And I mean, like, I agree, but I think the movie works for other reasons.
I don't know what to tell you. I very much understand why people dislike this movie a lot, and I think it's pretty okay, because I think there are a lot of things that work in it, but just such surface level things. You dig into anything in this movie, and I think it's either worse than one of the previous installments or actively does not make sense.
I mean, I guess, like I said, I can't really articulate why I love this movie, and it makes me sad because I want more people to get enjoyment out of this. Use my 5 stars as an excuse to watch it and enjoy it. Look at is what I say.
In the biggest detractor of all enjoyment is Courteney Cox's hair in this.
I saw so many people
the worst thing in the world. Who is on costumes, makeup, and hair and all that?
I think it's so funny.
They should be fired. That is the worst hair I've ever seen.
I think it's hilarious. That's because like all of the all of the characters look actively worse in this movie than they do in the other ones.
Well, actually, I think Sidney looks fine.
Sidney, I don't know, man. Her costuming in this is weird. It's a little funky.
This is the costume guy who did Tremors.
Wait, Tremors, like the Tremors?
Yeah, and the Muppets.
Oh no.
And so yeah, we have the person who did Tremors, and then like 2 people who have not worked on much else on the costume department. One of them has worked on the 2011 Muppets, and the other one has worked on literally one other movie. That does not look very well costumed.
Okay. We've gone on for quite a while now.
Yes,
I'm gonna try and sum up why I like Scream 3 so much, if I can.
Go for it.
Okay. Scream 3 takes the Scream franchise in a new direction.
A boring direction.
Which I think is a lot of fun. It's more in my taste in movies, in slashers anyway. I think the cast works really well.
But they don't. I
like the chemistry. I like how natural a lot of the jokes feel. I like how fun and I don't know, just the energy of the setting a lot. I like the tension. I like the way they use the unique elements of Ghostface in this one to ramp up the tension. I like Sidney's arc in this. I like Dewey's arc in this. And I don't know, I really just have a blast while watching it. I like the way it's shot. I love the final set piece. I like the set piece of the movie set. I think it pays, I don't know, it interacts with the canon of the series in a very interesting way, and I found it to be very enjoyable to watch. But yes, those are the reasons I love Scream 3 so much. What do you think of Scream 3, Micah, if you had to sum it up?
If I had to sum it up, I would say it is, on the whole, a pretty fine horror movie with very uninteresting elements that lend it to be something that I would probably never watch again, and especially outside of connection to the Scream franchise, I would probably look even worse upon it, because I like the Scream franchise. I like Stab. I like Ghostface's design. I like the Scream series as a concept. But this one is just offering nothing for me to chew on, nothing for me to enjoy. It makes me not want there to be another Scream movie, essentially. And it makes me just want to go back and watch the first one. Because again, while none of the elements are like aggressively the worst, I feel like the movie actively feels significantly cheaper than the series deserves. And that makes me sad. I do not like that. So yeah, not one I will probably ever try to revisit. And my least favorite of the series, definitely.
You know, it's funny that you say that, because the moment this one ended, I'm like, I want to rewatch it like over and over again. It's just, I don't know.
I don't get it. I don't understand that.
It's so much fun.
I don't get it. Anyway, that's what we thought of Scream. Again, I gave it a 3.5. I was super critical on this one just to combat his craziness. I agree.
This really highlights my weakness as a film critic, which I don't want to be a film critic, and we started a film criticism podcast.
I see, and I've been trying to get better.
Exactly. I was about to say,
I started a YouTube channel.
You've gotten better, and my skills have not risen to the challenge.
But yeah. I gave it a 3.5. He gave it a 5.
I gave it a 5 out of 5, baby. It's a certified, like, great time. I don't know. I don't know how you could have a bad time watching this movie.
I was bored. But let's get into our what we watched.
The other stuff we watched.
All right, so for those of you who have never made it this far or are new to the podcast, the What We Watch segment is supposed to be a short little thing we do at the end. We'll see how short it is this time.
Gosh, I watched so many movies.
A short little thing we do at the end where we talk briefly about all of the other movies we have watched since the last episode and give some ratings quickly.
Indeed.
We're starting from the 25th.
24th we recorded, so I actually watched something later.
We talked about Deadstream.
I actually watched something later that day, Micah.
Okay.
I watched so many movies. Okay. On the 24th of October in 2022, I watched The Innocents, which is I'm trying to remember, Dutch film, I believe. Yes. Very interesting. It's a thriller set like in an apartment complex from the perspective of children. And it's very interesting the way it does very small scale childhood horror, which I think is a very interesting thing to do for like a movie like this, and it works pretty well. It lacked a lot of the tension that it really needed to make everything click, which is disappointing, but it still had some good child performances and some great world building, so I enjoyed it. But it is a bit of a slog to get through, unfortunately. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. And then on the 25th, I watched Host, which, didn't you watch this with me? I didn't think, did you not log it, I guess?
Oh, I completely forgot to log it.
Dang.
To be fair, I was working on something.
Yeah, I was about to say, you were working on something when we watched it.
Man, I can't believe I completely forgot. What day was that?
That was the 25th, as late on the 24th. So, whichever one you want to log it as.
Did we log it on the 25th?
25th, yes.
Okay.
But yeah, Host. It is a Unfriended-esque kind of horror movie about a group of friends performing a what is it, a seance? Yeah, seance.
Yeah, they
via
perform a
Zoom.
seance because it's COVID.
Yeah.
And they're bored.
But yeah, no, it's a really fun time. I think the scares work better than they probably should. The actor, the entire cast really sells it, which is great for something like this.
I think it's, and by the way, I swear we watched Crimson Peak before we watched Toast.
No, I have it quite a bit afterwards, dude. That was later that day, but
we
next
watched
day.
Oh, right. This was late that.
Yeah, this was late on the 24th.
Okay, well,
that we watched Toast.
Anyway, I think The Host is pretty fun, pretty fine.
And yeah, no, I think it's a lot of fun.
A little boring.
I'm surprised at how accurate its Zoom stuff is. It's very. It seems painstakingly committed to being a Zoom movie, which I can respect that.
Yeah, but I'm not a big fan of this kind of a movie, and I didn't find it especially scary.
No, it does seem like more my thing, especially when we were watching it. I don't know. I'm a sucker for found footage digital horror. I think it rocks.
See, and I like found footage, but when used in specific ways. I do not like most
No, this is definitely a weaker use of it.
Wow, it's a Zoom call. Whoa. At least Deadstream had something interesting to use it for.
Yeah, it's no Deadstream, but I gave it a 4 out of 5. I thought it was pretty great.
I gave it a 3 out of 5.
There you go. On the 25th, also, I watched a bunch of stuff on the 25th. I finished the Cursed Films series that Shudder did. It's a docuseries covering supposedly cursed film productions of horror movies. It was a lot of fun. It really I don't know. It's surprisingly layered and nuanced. And I said in my review that it's a surprisingly tasteful exploration of how people quantify and explain horrors and tragedies in their lives. They have to have something to point to, and that's what the whole docuseries is basically about. I don't know. It's a very interesting series, and the way it plays out, where it questions the very notion of something being cursed and how people perceive film productions and stuff like that. I don't know. Very, very unique, very nuanced, and pretty amazing docuseries. Cursed Films, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. It was really good. Then I watched a couple short films. I watched Our First Priority, which my friend Kayla actually sent this over to me. She was shooting the behind-the-scenes documentary for it, which I also watched. I gave both of them a 4 out of 5. Her documentary is called Devil in the Details, and it's very good. I liked it. And then later that day, Karsten Rundquist, who listeners of the podcast may know that I'm a big fan of his, released his short film digitally, Dirtbag. So it's finally out. People can watch it. I was one of the Kickstarter supporters for it. I have the poster in my room. So I finally got to see it, and it rocks. I think it's my favorite thing that I've seen from him. It's really fun. It's a lot more elegant than his past work. It's got great performances, lighting, cinematography. I don't know. It's the stuff I wanted Karsten to make with his previous films, and I think it works really well. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5.
Nice.
And then on the 25th, what did we watch, Mike?
We watched Crimson Peak. It was a rewatch for me while I was working a first watch for Abby.
My first time seeing Crimson Peak. I don't know. I love Del Toro. Who doesn't love Del Toro?
I'm like the biggest Del Toro.
I was about to say I love Del Toro, and you're a bigger Del Toro fan than I am.
And I absolutely adore this movie. Again, this was a rewatch, and I think I was curious on how it would go on a rewatch, and I think it works just as well, if not more. There's something very classical feeling and very, very engaging about this. Again, it feels very much like a love letter to Gothic literature, which I especially appreciate. And I don't know, the production is great. The cast is fantastic. The story is really interesting. Yeah. I love this movie.
No, one thing I really wanted to shout out is how great the environmental storytelling is in this, and the production design and everything. That in itself is enough to praise this movie kind of endlessly, because it's really brilliant in the way it goes about progressing the mansion design and everything like that, and the way it uses reds.
It's the Crimson Peak.
I was about to say the titular Crimson Peak. It's really brilliant, and I don't know. It's not my favorite Del Toro, but it definitely is fantastic.
Yeah, no, it's not my favorite Del Toro either, but I still just I absolutely love it. I give it a 4.5 out of 5.
I also gave it a 4.5 out of 5. Very good. And on the 26th, late on the 25th, really, I watched a film called Nightmare Cinema. It's a anthology horror film. I wanted to see it mainly because Joe Dante directed a segment of it, and I wanted to love it. I'm a big sucker for anthology films. I think they're just like kind of an awesome concept for a film. But it just never really comes together in any significant way. Like, I like the ideas behind it. I like the idea for the killer, who he doesn't really kill anyone in this. And, you know, some of the shorts, like segments, have strokes of brilliance, but none of them really rise to being great in any way. But I do like it. I had fun. But it just never really gels in its different elements like it needs to. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. I thought it was pretty good. And then on the 26th, I logged the Ghoul log, which isn't really worth mentioning.
Yeah,
it's like a Yule log, but it's a pumpkin. So. Yeah. But it was fun. I liked it. Wait, how many did I watch? Oh my goodness. Late on the 26th, I watched a little indie horror film called Glorious, which is a very silly and kind of unexpectedly brilliant little film. I don't know. It's cosmic horror, which I really enjoyed. It's got basically just two people sitting around talking for like an hour and a half, which works way better than it probably should, because one of the people is J.K. Simmons as like this celestial god. I don't know. It's a really fun movie. I really liked it. Horror stuff was really good. The character stuff really hit for me. I gave it a 4.5. Go check out Glorious if you're old enough to watch it. Yeah, and then on, I guess later on the 27th, I watched Ernest Scared Stupid, which, for those unaware, Jim Varney plays Ernest in like a bunch of movies. This is the Halloween one, I guess. And I don't know, this one was a lot of fun. It's a fun like kids Halloween movie, if that makes any sense. Like it manages to be like pretty macabre and spooky while also maintaining a really fun energy. I loved the makeup and costuming and lighting and everything. The like goblins and stuff look amazing. They're all like animatronic rubbery kind of masks, and I don't know, they went all out. I imagine they probably spent like half of the budget for this movie on those costumes, and they look so good. It's pretty breezy, and it was fun. I liked it. Definitely my favorite of the Ernest series that I've seen so far. So I gave it a 4 out of 5. And
then that night, I had gone to the movies. Making the movies.
Making them.
And I went and saw The Woman King with Haley, my girlfriend, and it was cool. It was nice to see in theaters. I'm glad I got to see it in theaters, because I feel like at home it would not work as well. But it feels like a very timeless blockbuster kind of thing. Like the kind of movie, the kind of movie that wouldn't garner too much attention, but is just like
solid.
It's solid. It like I said, I put in my review that it feels like it's from the before times when the average like theater run movie did things like look good and have a compelling story,
right? When you could just go out to the theater and expect good craft in your action movies,
right? Like because it's not like the greatest thing in the world. There was nothing especially standout besides probably like the performances, but like when has Viola Davis given a bad performance?
Right.
But like it's fun, it's engaging, it's emotional, it's got great action, an outstanding cast, and it's pretty good.
Cool. I'm really looking forward to watching it after Houston Coley gave it such praise back after like when he watched it.
Yeah, and I ended up giving it the same as him. I gave it a 4 out of 5, which I think it's a very 4 out of 5 movie. It's pretty good.
Mike is like rock solid, baby.
Yeah, like it's I don't know, like a lot of people, I feel like nobody watched it, and that makes me kind of sad, because this movie, like it was definitely good enough to like Get some people watching it, man. It's a good movie.
Yeah, later that night, I watched another indie horror film called Night's End. It was pretty good. It never really comes together the way I wanted it to. Like, nothing really lands quite right. It looks amazing,
okay,
though.
so he's like, nothing really lands quite right. It's not really what I wanted. 3.5. So I guess we can see how he might, after watching all of these, jump to 5 for Scream 3.
Michael Shannon is in this movie, and he calls himself a cheese ball. That's why it's a 3.5. But yeah, Night's End 3.5, pretty fun, but not great. And then after that, like later that day, we watched.
Well, actually, late that night. Oh yeah. On the 27th, I was trying to keep up. I watched The Cabin in the Woods for the first time.
The Cabin in the Woods.
There's a D there.
It's not just a cabin in the woods. It's
which I've heard really great things about The Cabin in the Woods. So I was a little disappointed because it wasn't like my favorite thing in the world. I ended up rating it like exactly on average. But
I love it when that happens. I'm like, oh dang, I just gave it the exact rating it has on average.
But it's really, really fun, and I think that's got a lot of very interesting elements to it, but it feels completely overshadowed by the fact that it feels like it has to hold your hand throughout the entire movie, and that it's just not as It's not as interesting as it thinks it is.
Micah, what if the viewer misunderstands or doesn't get it? What then?
I literally don't know how that would be possible with how they present the information, but like it's fun, but it feels like it could have taken it feels like it could have taken everything, like the gore, the characters, the tropes, it's comedy, it's satire, it's twist. It feels like it literally could have taken everything a step further.
It's like, is it like the Scream of supernatural horror, Micah?
Kind of.
Kind of.
It's doing something similar, but not in anywhere near like the same execution.
Yeah. No, that's kind of been my perception of it, where like Scream is a very direct criticism of like the slasher genre.
It's like Scream, but like with a sci-fi supernatural twist.
Nice. I can't wait to see it, honestly.
Yeah, it's very interesting, just not as good as I was hoping it to be. I give it a 3.5 out of 5.
There you go. And then later that day, we watched Wendell and Wild.
Wendell and Wild.
Is that correct? I don't know. New Henry Selick movie. In this house, we love Henry Selick.
Written by Jordan Peele and Henry Selick.
Yes, Jordan Peele. Man, I mean, I know everyone loves Jordan Peele, but like he's such a brilliant screenwriter in the way he works themes into his stuff.
Jordan Peele acting again, which is interesting.
He's great. Man,
I don't know.
Shout out to Jordan Peele for real.
This is an interesting one because I think it's got a lot of unique elements, especially in the canon of Henry Selick.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of stuff I really love about it. There's a lot of the comedy I really like.
The comedy's so fun.
I really like Kat as like a main character.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think this is probably very, very telling of the problems Henry Selick has in all of his movies. Which I was hoping he would not have in this, being that Jordan Peele was also on the writing team, and I know he can write a good movie.
Yeah.
But it just feels very muddled, cluttered.
I think it's a bit too ambitious.
Distracted. It's way too ambitious.
I love what it does with all of its different things. Like it touches on like the prison system and like anti-capitalism and stuff like that.
But at the
in
same
a very
time,
good way.
But at the same time, it's
way too much.
Yeah.
It tackles. It tries to tackle way too much.
I think that's just like the best criticism, especially summing it up fast, that you could give about this movie is that it's just way too overly ambitious. It does way too much. And while most of those elements are interesting and cool, and I want to see more of them, and I liked the world and the characters, it just feels extremely muddled, and I got pretty much zero emotional investment or payoff of anything in this movie.
That's fair. I don't know. I thought it was pretty emotional to an extent, but Henry Selick's films have always kind of struck me in a weird way. His best stuff is like stuff like Coraline and Nightmare Before Christmas.
I put in my review that Coraline works as well as it does, because I really don't think Henry Selick on the whole is like that great of a director or writer, honestly. He's fine.
His movies have a good feel to them.
His movies have good atmosphere, but I feel like he would be better I don't know. He needs. I don't know. He feels better as like a person helping. A person with a strong
He
vision.
shouldn't be at the wheel.
I don't know. But the reason Coraline works so well is because it's taking a style, but like putting it through the absolute tightest possible lens.
Yeah, Coraline is a very focused story. Same with Nightmare Before Christmas. It's very focused on just Jack's stuff.
And the reason this one doesn't work as well, and James and the Giant Peach doesn't work as well, and just like a lot of the problems that come through in his movies are just because they're trying to do too much.
Yeah,
there's too many elements. It does not focus on anything strong enough to get me that invested.
I will say, I say there's too much here, but the way it's woven together is very impressive. Like all of the different themes, the way they come together with the characters is very cool and cohesive and like surprisingly great.
And the animation looks fantastic.
The animation,
of course.
It looks great.
I give it a 3.5 out of 5.
I give it a 4 out of 5. Solid movie, man.
Solid picture.
Solid picture. And then
on the
later,
29th?
Yes, I was gonna say later that night, but I guess maybe it was the 29th. I don't remember. But yes, we watched.
It was later. It was later that night, but
yeah,
we watched it later.
We rented a movie, Mike.
We rented Goosebumps, the 2015 Jack Black movie.
It's actually a Rob Letterman film, the director of Detective Pikachu, Micah.
But it's still a Jack Black movie.
No, honestly, Jack Black might be the highlight here.
Robbie, I mean, director of Club Oscar.
Club Oscar, my boy.
Featuring Robert De Niro, Martin Scorsese, and Will Smith.
I will say the big thing to really shout out about Goosebumps is how smartly it handles adapting the Goosebumps canon. Like, it's such a unique way to do like this concept. Like, if you told someone to make a Goosebumps movie, this is like the coolest possible outcome.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really smart way to take a Goosebumps adaptation, save from like just doing an actual
just like straight
adaptation.
Straight up adapting one of the books.
Because I think the book I was about to say the book adaptations are hard to do well. Most of the people who have adapted the books, the movies are, I don't know, pretty whatever.
I think the series actually, but again, that's a lot smaller. In scale.
Exactly. Those are like one-off mysteries, short little episodes that keep it very concise and fun.
Yeah.
But this is a really unique, interesting way to take the Goosebumps idea, and Jack Black is really fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I was about to say he's great.
The effects look surprisingly good in this.
The effects, most of them aged pretty well. Like, there's a couple where I'm like, ooh, but most of them look pretty solid.
I don't know, for like a 2015 Goosebumps movie, this looks better than I thought it would.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mainly the Yeti just doesn't look that good. But everything else is pretty solid. I liked it.
I give it a 3.5 out of 5.
I give it a 4 out of 5. I think it's
just throwing out 4s.
I think it was breezy, it was fun, it was funny.
Easy, breezy,
the
beautiful.
Character stuff doesn't work all the time. Like, the main characters are honestly probably the most boring part of this, but I think it's fun. I give it a 4 out of 5. It's good. And then I watched later that day. I don't know what that was. Lighting shifted. Later that day, later on the 30th, I watched Psycho Goreman, which is another indie horror film. There are quite a few that came out 2020. I was going to say this year. Came out in the 2020s at the very least. But Psycho Goreman, fun movie, very childish, awesome puppet work, solid comedy, and lots of gore. So I enjoyed it.
What is called Psycho Goreman?
I said, in a more ideal world, this is what most superhero films would be like. Just like fun little romps with like people with outrageous powers doing fun shenanigans and turning people into giant puppet brains. But yeah, I say make them sillier, make movies sillier. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I give Psycho Goreman a 4 out of 5. And then I watched Addams Family 2. It is a bad movie. It is slightly better than the first one, mainly because they don't have as many human characters. The human characters are so annoying in both of them, man. It's just so bad. I feel so sorry for anyone who got roped into making the Addams Family movies, the modern ones. They're just not good. I'm honestly surprised. Every time I see them, I'm surprised Illumination didn't make them.
Right. Oh, man.
But yeah, no, it's... The art direction is just so ugly for both of those movies. And this one looks marginally better and is a little more palatable because it's not as I don't know, it's not as grating as the first one because it's not as focused on like, oh, the Addams Family, they're so weird. I don't know. Why am I giving it this much time? Addams Family 2.5. Not great.
On the 30th, I watched also Hush.
Hush.
It was a rewatch. Mike Flanagan. Who doesn't like
the
Hush?
Flanaman.
It's fun. I honestly forgot. I don't know. It feels weird still to me that it's rated R, and I honestly forgot that there was like a lot of blood in it.
Yeah, or dude, it's pretty bloody. Honestly.
And then we got to like some of like the blood and like the gore and her fingers getting all messed up at that one part, and I was like, oh yeah.
No, it made me a little squeamish the first time I watched Hush. I was like, ooh.
But a very good movie. I think I don't know. I rated this higher than most people I know. I feel like it's pretty darn effective at everything it does. It's very simple, so I understand people not liking it as much, but I think as a story, it's very well rounded. I give it a 4.5 out of 5.
Flanagan's such a good writer, man.
Indeed.
And a really good director. I need to watch some of the Hill House and Bly Manor stuff.
I still find it really funny to me for some reason that he used the story he was actually working on, Midnight Mass, as the story that the character was writing.
Good stuff, man. While Micah was watching a Mike Flanagan film, I was sitting at home watching Hocus Pocus 2. Which is marginally better than the first one, I will say. I know a lot of people I follow really didn't like this and thought it was just kind of like corporate schlop kind of thing. But I thought it was fun. It had a fun personality to it, which is a rare thing to say for any modern Disney movie. It's pretty much carried by like its fun designs and main cast, which I was so glad the main sisters were not as like annoying in this one. Like they're so grating in the first one. I can barely stomach Hocus Pocus. But this one's slightly better. I thought it was fun. That literally my entire review was fun. That was the whole thing. But yeah, no, it was pretty good. I like the book design. It's cool. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5.
Wow.
And then we watched Scream 3.
Then we watched Scream 3 last night.
And I loved it. It was so good.
And I thought it was fine.
I don't know. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I just had watched too many mid movies and then watched an actual Wes Craven picture, you know. And I was like, I don't know. It's just such a fond memory. Even just looking back on it now, it's such a fun movie. Go watch Scream 3. Go watch the whole Scream franchise. Go watch Scream. Yeah.
Go watch Scream. Go watch The Woman King in theaters to support it.
Ooh, go watch Wendell and Wild on Netflix.
Also to support it.
Yes.
Go watch Crimson Peak.
Ooh.
Watch some good Halloween stuff.
Yeah.
We're gonna watch some stuff though. We gotta watch Over the Garden Wall.
I'm very tempted to try and watch either Halloween or Halloween Town today. Something with Halloween in the title.
But yeah, enjoy your Halloween.
Stay safe out there.
Stay safe. Spooky season is spooky, and spooky movies are fun.
Indeed. Go listen to the Over the Garden Wall episode.
Definitely.
And we'll catch you guys next week.
Yep. Or will we? Do 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 do.